So this past weekend on June 8th and June 9th, Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance was having their annual Duthie Hill Festival. There are a bunch of different bike companies there such as Norco and Specialized, and I bought the pass. It was $40 because I'm not a member with Evergreen, so it was $40 for me. I demoed 5 bikes. In this episode, you're going to be seeing 2 bikes, the Norco Range and the Pivot Mach 5.5. And in the other episode, you're going to be seeing the other 3 bikes that I demoed. So the first bike that I demoed was a Norco Range. This bike's an enduro bike and it's full carbon, so it was really fun and light on the trails. So a little more about this bike. The front fork is a RockShox Yari RC. If you get the 29-inch wheel, it has 170 millimeters of travel, and if you get the 27.5, it's 180 millimeters. In the video that you're seeing right here, the front fork's actually a Fox 36. It's not the case when you get a normal bike. This one was custom built at the Norco tent, so this was the only one like it, but the standard comes with the RockShox Yari. The bike doesn't have a front derailleur, and its rear derailleur is a 12-speed SRAM NX Eagle. After testing this bike out on a few trails such as Paramount and Semper, I noticed that the front suspension was really smooth. Unlike my bike, it can be a little jittery sometimes. And this bike was really fun. I'm actually going to consider purchasing it later because if I'm getting really into downhill riding and jumping, this bike seems like it would really fit that. Of the bikes that I demoed that day, this was by far my favorite just because the travel was a lot and it's really smooth when you're landing jumps. I also like the geometry and how well the bike is built. This bike also really handles downhill well, technical downhill. I tried this on the steep section of Braveheart, and man, it was amazing. It was so smooth and just plowed through all the rocks like it was nothing. There was also something about being in air on this bike that I felt like I could just fly forever. I feel like this bike handled step downs and drops really well too, because when I kept landing the Paramount step down pretty hard, it took the impact really well, and I felt like I could do a 50-foot drop without any consequences. I have nothing bad to say about this bike, and it could very well be my next mountain bike. I love it that much. Part of it could also be that I've never demoed a bike with that much travel, so I'm used to a harder landing, so it felt really smooth too. So now let's get into my second favorite bike of the day, which is the Pivot Mach 5.5. The Pivot was basically the same as the Norco, except the only reason I like the Norco better is because the Pivot had 20 millimeters less travel, so it wasn't as smooth, but I still really liked it. This bike is full carbon, comes with a Fox float in the rear with 140 millimeters of travel. In the front, it's 160, and it's a Fox 36. The dropper post is a Fox Transfer, and the shifting is a 1x12. Now, when I'm riding a full suspension bike, I usually prefer my rear suspension to be parallel to the seat tube, but this is the case in this bike where I think that it's fine that they did it horizontal. I actually kind of liked it, and the rear suspension, the motion, it felt really smooth. Maybe that is why I was noticing a small difference between this and the Norco, but still, I thought they did it really well. One thing that I thought this bike did a little better than the Norco was boosting jumps. This bike could fly, and when I say fly, I really mean fly. When I tried this on Flying Squirrel, I boosted some of the jumps almost to flat. That's how surprised I was. I thought that I had a little not enough speed, so I pedaled a bit, and I ended up landing really far. I was really surprised with the ability of this. It was funny, after I got back on my bike for the first couple runs, I was casing everything because this was the last bike that I demoed, so it was really funny to see the difference in abilities between my bike and this bike. So that's pretty much the end of this video, but before we wrap it up, I want to say one thing. After next week's video, which is going to be posted next week, obviously, which is going to be the second part of this with the other 3 bikes, I'm actually going to be going up to Whistler in Canada to ride there. I'm still going to be able to be posting every week, but the content's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be showing you guys full trails of Whistler, such as A-Line and Crank It Up. I'll be doing that, but I'll probably post a little bit shorter, so maybe once every 2 days, just so I can get through it a little faster and you guys can see more. Then it'll be back to normal.